The amount of books on my TBR that I've carried over from last year is abhorrent. I am full of shame. But what can you do? There are still a lot of new ones. We have 19 books on this TBR, 19 queer books, which is a lot more. We're going to speedrun this. That's a lot more than I thought I was going to have. I mean, there are a lot of books on my TBR, but I'm honestly surprised and so pleased that so many of them were queer. I mean, that's great. I love that. That's a great thing. But it's more than I really wanted to talk about in one video, so we're just gonna, we're gonna speed through this. And we're gonna start with the one that hurts the most. I know. I know. The praise that I sang for She Who Became the Sun, and I have still not read this. We are 4 months into this year. Anna. She Who Became the Sun was one of 2 5-star queer reads last year for me. And I have still not read this. I know. I have no excuse. A little bit of an excuse. Reading has been really slow for me this year so far. And that's really in part because I've been spending the first 4 months of this year finishing up the first draft of a novel that I'm writing. So I just have not been reading. I think I have read 10 books so far this year. We're a third of the way through the year, and I've read 10 books. But that's okay because I'm literally writing a book, okay? I feel like that makes up for it. But no, this is Shelley Parker Chan's sequel to She Who Became the Sun. I loved that book. And I don't really have any excuse to not be reading this. But so much of why I like making these videos, these TBR videos, is because it kind of reminds me not only of what is on my TBR, but it kind of reminds me of how excited I was for a lot of these when I first bought them. And it kind of reinvigorates me about reading them. So hopefully this will happen before the next TBR video. I am ashamed. I'm sorry. Okay, we're just jumping into the next one here. A Prayer for the Crown Shy. This is the second book in this series. The first one is called A Psalm for the Wild Built, and it is like the coziest tea on a rainy day book I've ever read. And yet it was such an easy read, but yet it was still so deep and thought-provoking. I absolutely ate it up. My friend recommended it to me. I went back and I told her I loved it, and she was like, "Are you gonna read the second one?" And I was like, "There's a second one." Yes. So I immediately went and bought this. I will be reading this. This will be next. I'm sorry, He Who Drowned the World. I'm sorry. This takes priority. I feel weird saying that, but I need a cozy book. And they're so quick and short and just lovely. The main character is a traveling tea salesperson, non-binary person, which that is also a first for me. It's the first book I've ever read where the main character is non-binary, and I'm so here for that. Cannot recommend it enough. I will be reading this literally next. This will be the next book that I read. I'm reading like 3 books right now, like currently, and that's too much for me. I really like devoting my time and attention to one book at a time. But for some reason, I'm reading my way through 3 different books right now, and that's been a bit of a headache. I feel like it has slowed me down because I keep just bouncing between these 3 rather large books instead of just getting through one. It doesn't help that one of them is Brandon Sanderson, Stormlight Archives. This is the second one. This is Words of Radiance. The Way of Kings really did it for me. I kind of hate that I loved that book, The Way of Kings. Words of Radiance has been fine. It's been all right. I might stop after this one, I'm not gonna lie. Unless this one knocks my socks off, I really don't feel like reading 20,000 more of these. They're so large. They're great, but I've really slowed down in this one. So I'm reading my way through that right now. I also just started The Well of Loneliness by Radcliffe Hall, one of the classics. I'm actually on a huge classics kick right now. I've been waiting to want to read classics. I've been waiting to be in the mood, and I finally am. So I started this one. This is arguably the first published lesbian novel. I'm enjoying it way more than I thought that I would. It's been really entertaining and kind of lighthearted and so full of character. I'm kind of being blown away by this right now. This has started my lesbian classics kick, and I love it for that. And then thirdly, I'm finishing up, I'll probably finish this tonight, Gideon the Ninth. And I have thoughts about it. I do have thoughts. They're not fit for this video. It's been a ride. It's been a good time, for the most part. I will be reading the second one. I haven't bought it yet, but imagine it in this stack. I will finish this tonight. I will go out tomorrow. I will buy Haro the 9th, and I will be reading it. And I'm excited to share my thoughts with you, but not now. So yes, my classics kick. I have to, of course, while I'm in the mood, I have to get to Virginia Woolf's Orlando. I've had this book, I've owned this book for 2 years now, and I have not read it because like a glass of wine, I've been waiting to be in the mood for it. And I think I finally am. So when I finish up my little ridiculous 3-stack reading list, I will be reading this. And I am both excited and intimidated, but mostly excited because this is kind of Virginia's love letter to Vita Sackville West. I love their relationship. I love their love letters to each other. I love Virginia Woolf. It's been a long time since I've read Virginia Woolf. I feel like it's going to take me some time to get back into it, fall back into the rhythm of her writing, but I do love some Virginia Woolf. And yeah, we've just got a bunch of classics right here. I've got Desert of the Heart. This became the movie Desert Hearts from the 1980s. It is one of the first lesbian movies that ever featured a happy ending. It's kind of ambiguously a happy ending. Basically, neither of them died or went to jail or a mental hospital. So, in that regard, it was a happy lesbian ending. I do want to read this. I don't have a lot of high expectations for it, or even high excitement, but I do want to read it. I think just because I love that movie, and that movie is such a cornerstone for lesbian cinema. And in that same vein, Rubyfruit Jungle. I know nothing about this book other than it is a classic lesbian story, and as such, it has been recommended to me. A novel about being different and loving it. Again, I know nothing. She's just another dirt poor little old southern girl who played doctor with the boys, beat up Leroy the fat, sloppy tub, and lost her virginity to her girlfriend in 6th grade. Mesmerized the head cheerleader of Fort Lauderdale High, captivated a gorgeous Jack Daniels guzzling heiress, and took off for New York City to become the greatest filmmaker that ever lived. She's funny, reckless, gutsy, and wild, a full-blooded, all-American, 100% true blue gay, and proud of it. Okay. I'm in. What year is this from? Copyright 1973. I need to get to this. This has been way in the back of my bookshelf, and I have honestly just kind of forgotten about it, but I bet it is a little diamond in the rough. Bet it's a gem. Should this one even be in this video? Alright, so there's kind of a story here. I did a video where I read the first mainstream lesbian pulp novel, Spring Fire by Marijane Meaker, and that was a trip. That was a ride. But it was brought to my attention that it was not the first lesbian pulp novel. It was the first one that went mainstream, that sold literally millions of copies. But judging by the copyright 1950. I believe Spring Fire is 51. Spring Fire is 1952. This is from 1950, so obviously, yes, this one did precede it. And for that reason, I want to read it. For that reason, I bought it. I expect it to be very similar to Spring Fire in that I will be pulling my hair out, and it will drive me mad. And for that reason, I just have not gotten to this. I'm sure it's just gonna, blow my hair back, but golly, Spring Fire was so dramatic, and I'm just not in the place to read another one of those yet. But at some point I do want to get to this, and I'll probably make a video about it. We're almost done with the classics. I just picked up James Baldwin, Giovanni's Room. I have not read any of his works, and I desperately need to. And Giovanni's Room, I know, is a gay story. I believe the main character has an affair with a barman, I think. I don't know anything about this book, aside from the fact that it's gay and it's James Baldwin. And for those two reasons, I will be reading it. I've heard just such great things from friends, from other booktubers about James Baldwin, and I'm sure I will be making my way to this very soon, because I feel like it will make me feel educated, well-read. And I honestly, I don't read enough gay books between men. I don't. And I'm determined to change that. I need to spread my wings and fly a little bit. And in that same vein, with that same thought, I also have Patricia Highsmith's The Talented Mr. Ripley. Now, I don't know much about this book. I've seen the movie with Matt Damon, Jude Law. I love the movie. And I know the movie is extremely queer-coded. I believe that the book is quite different from the movie, but I kind of expect that queer-codedness to carry over. It's also Patricia Highsmith, that lesbian queen that gave us The Price of Salt, aka Carol. So I will be reading this, and I'm sure that it will feel very queer, even if it's not explicitly so. And it's Patricia Highsmith. What more can I say about this? Was this before The Price of Salt? 1955. The Price of Salt was 52, so this was 3 years later. Yeah, I also don't read a lot of thrillers or mysteries, which I think this falls almost into both categories. Definitely a thriller. So I'm kind of excited to explore it for that as well. Yeah, what more can I say about this? This is just going to be a really fun, queer-coded read. And because we were talking about Highsmith, I'm just going to briefly kind of mention that this is not fiction. Not that that shouldn't matter, but this is a memoir by Marijane Meaker about Patricia Highsmith. They had a nice little love affair together, which I love. Oh my gosh, when I realized that, I think I smiled for 3 days straight when I realized that Marijane Meaker, who wrote Springfire, dated Patricia Highsmith, who wrote The Price of Salt. And I just love that this lesbian author world was, well, I hate that it was so small, but I also love that it was so small that they found each other and they had a little romance together. I think I just stumbled upon this at a McKay's and got it for like $1, but I had to get it because I need to know. I need to know the story between these two women. And when I know, I will definitely let you know. Okay, we're coming out of classics. Not really. This is Quicksand. This is a Japanese lesbian classic from the 50s, 1947. My word. I bought this while I was in Tokyo, actually. Not to brag. In an uninspiring marriage, when she decides to take an art class in town, she meets the extraordinary Mitsuko, a woman as beautiful and charismatic as she is cunning. They begin a passionate affair, and this woman soon finds herself infatuated by Mitsuko and ensnared in a web of sex, humiliation, and deceit. Yeah, I kind of expected that much from 1947. This is also written by a man, so I have that defense up as well going into this. I don't expect it to end wonderfully. This seductive psychological thriller about obsession, jealousy, and betrayal is a Japanese classic. Yeah, so I don't expect it to paint a wonderful picture of a loving lesbian relationship. And I think for those reasons, I'm kind of hesitating going into it. But the curiosity is so there. Like, I need to know. I need to know. Okay, we're finally out of the classics. We're finally in some modern picks. The Song of Achilles. I started reading this. I got like 2 chapters into it and realized it was going to wreck me. It was going to tear my heart out and stomp it on the floor. And I just didn't need that at the moment, so I put it down. And I've been waiting. I've been preparing myself. I want to be wrecked. I want it to wreck me. I just need to make sure I'm in a good place when it does that. Yeah, I can kind of have no excuses. I desperately want to. I need to know. I need to be wrecked. I feel like I don't have to talk about what this book is. If you're here, if you're watching this, you've probably read this. And if not, you definitely know what it's about. It's quite popular. And I feel like the only one who hasn't read it. Next to that, we have In the Dream House. I've had friends read this, and they also say that this wrecks them. And they recommended it very, very highly, 5 stars. I know it's kind of a memoir, but I also know that it kind of has a different take on the format of what a memoir can be, if that makes sense. But I know it's going to be heavy. I know it's going to possibly have some hard things to swallow. And I think for that reason, I haven't gotten to it. Again, like all of these, I'm in a preparation state constantly. Yeah, I kind of forgot that I had this, so I'm happy to be doing this video because I remember now that I need to read this. I remember now that I need to read all of these. Amatka. I was in some bookstore in Alabama for some reason. This was the first book that I hadn't heard of that I picked up off a shelf, just really randomly, and I turned it over and realized it was a sapphic story, and I was like, oh, amazing. No second thought, I bought it. And only then looked up reviews and a description. Apparently this is a bit of a wild psychological journey where everyone has a role, language has strange properties, and nothing, not even the very fabric of reality, can be taken for granted. Oh, but Jeff Vandermeer left a review. A stunning, truly original exploration of the mysteries of reality and what it means to be human. One of my favorite reads of the past few years, an instant classic. It gives kind of sci-fi dystopian vibes. And the author is Swedish, which also really interests me. I don't read a lot of Swedish books, so yeah, I don't know a lot about this, but Jeff Vandermeer likes it, and I like Jeff Vandermeer. Then we have a memoir, Pageboy, Elliot Page. Oh, goodness. I don't read a lot of memoirs. I don't read a lot of nonfiction. I prefer my truth covered up in fiction, but I'm gonna read this. So I've read half of it last year, and then life got really in the way, and I think it just wasn't what I needed at the moment, and I put it down. But I desperately want to pick it back up, refresh my memory, and finish it, because I feel like it's a really important story. I remember Elliot Page being like the first out trans actor that I remember hearing about. Yeah, I think like just before Hunter Schafer, I remember hearing about Elliot Page's transition and just how much I respected that he was doing that in the public eye. Like, I realized that, you kind of don't really have a choice, do you? But I feel like they were being a little more vocal about it than you would have to be, and I so respect him for that. And I think that's kind of the big reason that I want to read this, is because just I have so much respect for him and admiration and reverence. But yes, I will be reading this, and I kind of expect to weep sad tears and happy tears. Then we have Last Night at the Telegraph Club. I've heard really nice things about this. And I remember one review specifically saying like how they weren't big into historical fiction, but this broke them of that, like this transcends that. And I think that was also my big kind of hesitation with it, is that I'm also not really big into historical fiction. Even though She Who Became the Sun feels, even though it's a very fictionalized world, it feels like historical fiction. And I ate that up, so yeah, I shouldn't have no reason not to be reading this. This is about a Chinese American girl in 1954. And I think I feel like I went through a phase where I was reading a lot of books that were set in the 50s and 60s, and I think I just got a little burnt out on reading about lesbians in that era and the struggles that they have to go through. I think that's why it turned really hard. I took a really hard turn into fantasy, into lesbian fantasy. I think for that reason, because I was tired of reading about the same kind of struggles and kind of disheartened by it, which I think is why I turned to fantastical worlds where those struggles didn't exist. I haven't had the guts to return to those struggles. But I'm sure I'll come around, and I'm sure I'm gonna really enjoy that. Then we have Eileen. I saw this movie last year, and it really did something to me. The vibes were immaculate. And then I found this Adam McKay's for really cheap, so I just kind of picked it up. I don't know anything about the book. I don't know how close of an adaptation the movie was. I don't know. Trying to kind of distance myself from the movie before I dive into this. But the movie had it was a thriller. It was kind of a mystery and very suspenseful. Again, like I was saying about The Talented Mr. Ripley, I don't read a lot of those books, and I would kind of like to change that. And I feel like I will probably be reading this off of the back of The Talented Mr. Ripley. As soon as I put my head in that mystery thriller space, I will probably piggyback it by reading Eileen. Also, this cover is just kind of badass. And then one I completely forgot that I had until I pulled all these books out off my shelf. I Keep My Exoskeletons to Myself. Again, I know nothing other than the genre of this book and that it is queer. In a United States not so unlike our own, the Department of Balance has adopted a radical new form of law enforcement. Rather than incarceration, wrongdoers are given a second, and sometimes third, fourth, and fifth, shadow as a reminder of their crime. Within the department, corruption and prejudice run rampant, giving rise to an underclass of so-called shadesters who are disenfranchised, publicly shamed, and deprived of civil rights protections. I Keep My Exoskeletons to Myself is a bold debut novel that examines the long shadow of grief, the hard work of parenting, and the power of queer resistance. But I remember seeing like a string of really good reviews for it, and that's why I picked it up. But yeah, it sounds super sci-fi and psychological and possibly philosophical. I have so much stuff. I have so much stuff that I just want to read right now, but I cannot possibly read more than 3 books at once. No, I will not be doing that. But I'm so happy to remember all of these. Like this one, The Girls I've Been, I also bought this in Tokyo. And I believe it takes place over the course of a day. She's robbing a bank with her ex-boyfriend and her new girlfriend. And I think I remember kind of skimming through this, the format of it was really fascinating and interesting because I really do think that it takes place over just a few hours. And I feel like there are like phone calls and text messages in it. Yeah, and it just seemed like a really super cool take on a modern story. Let me know if you've read any of these and you recommend them. Like, seriously, shout at me. Last but not least, we have Feybound. This came out a year ago, I think. And I bought it right around then, not knowing any of the reviews. I wanted for once to read like a brand new book and not having read any of the reviews. Like I wanted to feel like a pioneer. That didn't happen. And I think since then I've seen some mixed things about it. I've seen some people who it wasn't for them, but then I've also seen some people who it is like one of their favorites. I also think I just saw that the sequel has come out, so I'm behind. My goodness, how many books was this again? Yeah, 19 books. Oh gosh. I'm insanely curious to see how many of those I actually read by the end of this year. But like anyone else, my TBR is endlessly expanding. I'm so excited just constantly to be reading good things, to be reading good stories, especially queer stories. Thank you for watching this video. I'm going to try to keep doing videos like this, but also doing updates with my own novel and how work on that is going. Project Chandelier, which I did just finish the first draft for that, and I'll be doing videos about editing that first draft, doing a second draft, and what comes after. So stay tuned for all of that. You guys have been absolutely just the most wonderful community to get in touch with and to make these videos for. So thank you for watching and commenting, just saying the nicest things. I appreciate it so very much. And yeah, stay gay, read some good gay shit, and I'll see you on the next one.